Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. So today's video, we are finally getting around to trying the new Divine Blush collection from Pat McGrath. I have 4 of her blushes. I have her quad and I of course have her new highlight. So we're going to be trying all of these products and I'm going to be letting you know my thoughts. I can only apologise for the delay. Obviously Pat McGrath products take a little longer to get here to the UK for me to try in the first place, and then last week it was our school half term here, so I was away with my children enjoying the beach with my family, so hence why it's taken me a little longer to get this review out. But I also wanted to make sure I tried everything, that I had tried all of the blushes, that I had tried the highlight, that I had used the eyeshadow quad a few times so that I really knew my thoughts, so that I could definitely share with you the full tea. So as I said, I picked up the eyeshadow quad, absolutely beautiful. I picked up 4 of her gorgeous blush shades. I was the most excited about that, as per the whole world. I think we were all very excited to get our mitts finally on Pat McGrath blushes. I also picked up her new highlighter. If you guys are not new here, you will know that her Divine Rose highlight, the last highlight she released, is my holy grail, all-time favourite highlight. So I was very excited to see if she could actually knock herself off top spot or not. So let's dive into some swatches and then we'll get on with the tutorial slash demo, I guess. So this is the same packaging for all of the products in the collection and it is absolutely glorious. I just think it's stunning. I love the little slide up flap, and then this is her classic black packaging for the eyeshadow quad. I don't mind it, but yeah, I prefer the outer box. I wish that print was on here. I think it's just stunning. And here are the swatches. You can see there's that duochrome shade that kind of shifts like pink to gold. I just think it's just such a beautiful palette. This shade here on the lid with this in the crease is just perfection for me. I absolutely love this shade. It's just beautiful on the lid. All of the blushes have this same stunning packaging, again with that lift up flap and Pat's classic black packaging, but the difference is that this has like a little push release that is a bit clunky and it can actually be a bit tricky to actually get it open, which I don't love. So inside this embossing on the blush, this is the shade Nude Venus and it's on each of the blushes with the gorgeous sort of flower print with that spray out. I just think this is just gorgeous. So first up, this is Nude Venus, which is described as a peachy pink with gold pearl. Stunning. Then we had Desert Orchid, which is described as a bronze rose with golden pearl. Then we have Electric Bloom, which is a vivid coral demi-matte. Whew, look at that. And lastly we have Paradise Venus, which is a terracotta demi-matte. So nice and close for you so you can see the difference in the finishes and the tones. We've got Nude Venus, Desert Orchid, Electric Bloom and Paradise Venus. Stunning. And lastly we have the highlight in the shade Golden Nectar, exactly the same packaging as the blush. Same annoying clunky little button that I can't even open. There we go. And there she is inside. So there is Golden Nectar and I'm going to compare it to her other highlights. Divine Rose, my absolute holy grail. And Champagne Gold, her first powder highlight. So here you have the nice and close up. So this is the new shade Golden Nectar. We have my absolute holy grail Divine Rose and then the first highlight that Pat came out with, that gorgeous Champagne Gold. The Champagne Gold is very different. It's actually not gold at all. It's actually pretty rose pink. The other two, the Divine Rose is a little lighter and has that, if you can just see, that's very smooth, like kind of glossy wet finish, and the new shade is definitely a more blingy highlight. When you see it in comparison to Divine Rose, you can see that extra level of shimmer. So I'm going to start off with the matte, and I'm using my Rephr 16 brush, and I'm just going to tap into that. No need to tap off your brush, it just picks up the perfect amount. And this shade is definitely one that can be like built on itself, like you can use it really lightly and really buff it out and have a real soft subtle wash, or you can build it up to be a really rich burgundy shade. So it's really up to you, and you can also just use it to get some depth because there's only one matte in the palette and there's not like a satin or anything like that either, so you are just working with that one kind of transition and deepening shade to smoke it out. So you can easily build this or use it lightly, and it's totally up to you. You could definitely have this as an everyday soft, work appropriate, subtle look, or really go all out. It's a very versatile little quad, which is what I love. And I love that this is actually kind of the first quad that I can remember from Pat that really would work for a softer, more everyday, easier look for what I like to do, how I like to do my makeup for like the office, for work, that I can just really do a very soft, natural look, which I think all of the quads that I own from her, at least, that would be trickier. It would be less suited to that kind of everyday makeup for me. So then I'm going in that same shade, but I'm using my Rephr 15. It's just a slightly smaller brush, and you can see how much more colour you can get from that same shade. So that's what I mean by, you know, you can blend it into itself. So it almost gives you a couple of different mattes to work with, because it can be used very lightly, give you a wash of colour in the crease, something to blend into, and then you can really deepen it up just by adding a bit more of that same shade. So that's why it becomes more versatile when you can do that, when the shades build and blend so easily. And next I'm going to take this Showstopper shade from the palette, and this is my MAC 242. Now this shade does have like a lot more chunkier kind of glitter to it, so you will get some fallout, especially using it this way with a brush. Fallout isn't something that hugely upsets me, quite honestly. Like, I'll just brush it away, and I usually do my eyeshadow first before my base product, so then you can just use a wipe and wipe it off and it's no harm, no foul. But for some people, I know that's an irritation. But yeah, I'm not using a wet brush, I'm not using any Fix Plus or anything like that. I'm just using the brush dry, and it's certainly not a big issue. Like, I'll get a few specks probably while I do the rest of my makeup, and that's kind of how it stays, because it is that kind of more impactful shimmer. It's not a soft, subtle shimmer, it is that glittery shimmer. I guess you could use a glitter adhesive. I don't really feel the need to do that. I just don't have that much of an issue with a few specks falling throughout the day. It doesn't bother me, but you could obviously do that. Or you could use some Fix Plus or a finger or something to make sure you avoid that. But I just think this shade is just so stunning. It could quite happily be all over my face and I would not be that mad at it, to be honest. So now I'm just going to go back in with a little dab of that matte shade just to blend where the shimmer meets the matte in the outer V. I tend to get a bit carried away with how far out the lid shades go, so I just like to go back in and just blend these two textures together. And then I'm going to use my Rephr 26, just a little dab in that matte shade, and smoke out that lower lash line. So at this moment, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see on camera, I can see 1-2 specks of glitter on this side and nothing on this side. So yeah, it's not falling all over my face, but there is definitely a couple of specks. And by the time I finish my makeup, there may be a couple more. So now I'm going to go into the lightest shade in the palette for my inner corner. And this is my Bristles Beauty P06 RF. And that's just going to give me a bit of an inner corner pop. I'll use that lightly arch my brow as well. So I've added a little mascara, and this is the finished look with the palette. I just think it's just so pretty, really my shades, and I am loving it. So moving on to the highlight, I'm going to use my Sonia G Fan Pro. Now this is a pretty beaming highlight, as you can see. It can be used and blended out so it's not too much for me personally, but it isn't a subtle highlight. Typically, you know, her previous highlight that she brought out, which is my absolute favourite, I'll do some comparison swatches, but that one you can just build it and build it and build it, and it will just never be too much. It will never look too heavy. It will never be too over the top for my personal taste. Whereas this one, if you build it and build it, it will be metallic. It's definitely more impactful and more beaming than her previous highlight. I think the shade is perfect. It really melts into my skin and it's very smooth and flattering. I love the shade of it. This is definitely, for me, what would be like a nighttime highlight versus like an everyday highlight. Like her Divine Roses, that one, I would happily wear that on the school run, to the swimming pool, literally the most casual makeup, because it is so subtle and soft, and you can really go ham with that one. You know, you can put as much as you want on and it just never is going to be too intense for what I like. Whereas this one definitely could be for me, because it is it's definitely a step up as far as the amount of like glow. It's definitely a highlight as opposed to a soft glow, if you see my meaning. But I think it's beautiful. It melts in. The colour is perfect. I think it's very, very beautiful. Very easy to work with, but yeah, a step up as far as the amount of glow that you're going to get. So like I said, I picked up a good few shades of her blush. My favourite so far is definitely Desert Orchid, but I don't want to use that today because I have others that I haven't used yet, including this bad boy. So this is Electric Bloom. I think this will go quite nicely with the eye look as well, so I want to try this one because I haven't used this on my cheeks yet. It's very bright, so I'm using a soft. Oh, okay, so this actually not anywhere near as scary as it looked. I was going in with a very light touch and really tapping off, because the brush, it picks up a lot, and I was thinking, ooh, this is going to be intense. And you can see there, you could really build this up if you have deeper skin, you just really want a punchy blush, but at the same time it can be used very subtly as well, so that is good to know for those of you with deeper skin than me. This is going to show on you because it's so buildable, which is fabulous to see how that builds, but it blends out beautifully. This is one of the matte shades. Some of the shades have some glow, some are matte, which I love that there's just something for everyone. Such an amazing range of blush, especially all, you know, her first launch, to bring out a range from the fairest skin tones to the deepest skin tones. There's a blush, and not just a blush that we're going to take a photo on their arm and it's going to look like it'll work, but we actually blushes that will show and give people a pop of colour on the cheeks no matter what your skin tone. So I'm just going to do a final little buff with my Sonia G Smooth Buffer. By the way, that blush brush was the Sonia G Cheek Pro. I always forget to mention at least one of the brushes. I'm a pain. So there we have everything together. So we've got the highlight, the blush, the eyeshadow, all in one. I just think the blushes are just exactly what I was praying, wishing for. The shades are just everything that I was missing from my collection. I never need another blush again. I'm just so happy with them. They're all just, they fill gaps, you know. Although I have lots of peachy coral blushes, I don't have anything quite as punchy and as red toned as this one. And the fact that it's matte and it's very, very smooth. Desert Orchid is just the absolute perfect blush for like brainless makeup. You don't want to think, you just want to whack on a blush that will go with whatever else you did on your face and not be too much. This is absolutely it, and it's got that gorgeous sheen to it as well. Perfect for summer. You know, if you have lighter skin tone, then there are, I think Flirtatious is the lightest shade, I think, and that looks stunning. This Paradise Venus, just gorgeous on deeper skin tones as well. On me, use it really lightly. It will give a similar level of colour to this if I use it with a light hand and buff out. And then this is Nude Venus, which again, a very easy everyday whack it on, no worries, no concerns, not too much, not going to clash with anything. Absolutely stunning. So yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with the blushes. I just think they're beautiful. Exactly what I was hoping Pat would give to us, and of course she delivered. So let's start off on my thoughts on this eyeshadow quad. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Formula wise, absolutely no issues. I think it's stunning. I love the look I get from it. It's very versatile as far as being able to use it daytime or evening. Super soft daytime everyday office glam, or a very, very over the top smoky blingy eye for the discotheque. Or you can go super over the top with that shifting shade. It gives you a lot of options as far as how impactful you want your eye look to be or not. As far as colour story, it's pretty one-dimensional in that way. So it's not super versatile, as long you're not going to get 18 different eye looks out of it. It is still a quad. And I don't think it's quite as versatile as, say, Risque Rosé, because you do have more options as far as crease shades in there, because it has a satin and a matte. There's just the one matte in here. But if you don't have a lot of Pat McGrath eyeshadow, or you have no Pat McGrath eyeshadow, obviously this lower price point of the quad I think is an excellent choice, because it is less intimidating than the brighter colours in Risque Rosé. I think this is an excellent first Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette. I think if you have a huge amount of Pat McGrath eyeshadow, this probably isn't really a necessity for you, because it is similar to other shades that she has. I would particularly say that Mothership 5, it reminds me of very similar tones to what's in there. So yeah, if you have a lot of her Mothership palettes, is this a must buy? I don't think so. I think you could live without it. But as a first palette, or if you don't have a lot of Pat McGrath, I think it's beautiful and I have no issues. This shade, I didn't use it today, but it is stunning. As far as the blushes, I am in heaven. I'm a blush lover. It's one of my absolute favourite steps of makeup, and they are everything I hoped they would be. I just think they're so flattering on the skin, very smooth, gorgeous formula, very blendable and buildable, so you can use them very lightly, or you can go ham as I did to show you the colour and how much impact you can get with this one on this side, and you can still see it's still very blendable. Blend it out, no issues, very idiot proof, very heavy-handed proof. I think they're gorgeous. There's a gorgeous selection of shades for every preference and every skin tone, which I love. If you are my skin tone or lighter, if you are, I'd say a tan skin tone to fair, my recommendation if you're going to pick one shade up would be this one. This is Desert Orchid. I just think it's just special. I think it's stunning, special, beautiful, and if you're afraid of blush, definitely cannot go wrong with that one. As for the highlight, I definitely think it's a beautiful, glowy, luminous, stunning highlight that I will absolutely use again. It doesn't knock my Divine Rose off top spot just because it's more beaming, and my personal preference is that soft glowy, is the light just hitting her beautifully rather than highlight. It's not over the top. It's not like an Hourglass Trio level of bling. It's not like a Champagne Pop. It's not there, but it isn't at the same time a very soft, subtle, melt into the skin, barely there highlight like this one. I also feel like this is kind of looser pressed, and therefore if you swirl your brush, that's going to be a mistake. So it's not as easy and as foolproof as this one. You can just literally put this over your entire face with a buffing brush and nothing will go wrong. Wow. Try it and see how you get on. But what I'm saying is you can build this up, use a heavy hand, swirl your brush, and it's just never too much. Whereas this one, if you did that, it would be like, whoo, okay, hold your horses. So you do have to use or I do have to use a slightly lighter hand, go a bit careful, and then buff out. This one, like I said, you could, just go absolutely nuts and it will never be too much. But colour wise, formula wise, how it looks on the skin, how smooth it is, I'm here for it. I love all of the above. And this will be one, a bit like the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude Glow, that I will reach for in the evening. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on this collection from Pat McGrath. I am so happy with my choices. I don't feel like I missed out on anything I wish I'd picked up. I didn't think that any of the lip products were especially speaking to me or really pulling me in or making me need to buy them. I wish her Luxe Trance would have a huge restock and maybe some new shades, but I'm not really here for another kind of rosy toned matte. So yeah, for the lip shades it was an easy pass for me, and I feel like blush wise I got all of the shades that I really loved and will use, and the ones that I passed on were just kind of not my type of shades. So yeah, I'm absolutely in love with everything. I think it's all a beautiful collection. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.